What is up, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're here for episode number 23 of the My Team journey for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, which is at the Imola racetrack, a track that I'm actually looking forward to race on. This is a track where I've actually done quite a lot of laps around, and it's a track that I really enjoy, but only because it's really challenging, and also it can punish you even if you make the smallest of errors around here. So I'm really looking forward to that. But first, if you haven't seen the last episode yet, the link will always be in the description below, or you can just click in the top right hand corner or whatever it may be. But let's move on to this weekend around Imola. So why I'm looking forward to racing around Imola, as I said, it's challenging, and it's one that you need to be so precise on a couple of exact corners, one being the chicanes, and what's the corner in the third sector? No, not the second. The second sector, the one before the third chicane, before Rabatza. I don't know that one, but that corner's a challenging one. You'll see what I mean, which corner in just a second. If you know the name of the corner, just leave a comment in the description below. So let's get on with this weekend. I think we do have a couple of upgrades coming on the car, one of them being a crankshaft, which is due to come in on the 12th. I think that was powertrain department or something. We'll have to wait and see. We did a marketing upgrade in the facility, which I think it improves team acclaim or whatever, and that's the crankshaft from the powertrain that doesn't get on the car for this weekend. And that's an upgrade that I was actually really looking forward to have, in all honesty, because we are the fourth best car in the powertrain, and going along the main straight might just keep us in front of some of the back markers, in all honesty, because when that happens, because when we are going to get into a battle with the lower back markers, and when DRS does get enabled, or actually it may not, because as we know, or as I know, it's actually going to be a wet Sunday and maybe a wet in qualifying. So this is the corner that I was talking about in the middle sector. This tricky couple of right-handers. So you go through, and it's a tricky complex, and I like to use 4th or 5th gear just so the rear is stable. So if you guys know that part of the track, just let me know what the name is in the comments below, and that'll do me really well. We got P4 in practice only because we did a qualifying run, and as you all know, I like to lower the AI difficulty down a little bit, but that is not the case for when we get into qualifying. Mick Schumacher in P15. So it looks like, you know, we've got a good car with us if Mick is in 15th, but however, Williams have actually overtaken us before this weekend. So a couple of upgrades they've managed to squeeze on, and now we are the second worst car in the field. Good batch of resource points to come in, so we can get that a powertrain upgrade or the crankshaft rectified, and we can get that on the car for Portugal. It actually will get on the time for Portugal. Another track with a really long main straight, but a couple of complex corners to start the lap. They're sort of like, what would you say, 45-degree corners, and then you got turn 3, which is sort of like a hairpin, and that's the R&D performance that I was just speaking of. So Williams have overtaken us. I don't think that'll bother me too much about it as we go into qualifying, so let's see what happens. So here we go there for qualifying for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. We are expecting some showers, maybe towards, or maybe at the halfway point of this session. So we're not going to waste any time, and we're going to get out now, just so we can get a lap in, and hopefully it's enough to get us into Q2. I reckon we've almost got the pace to get into Q2, probably on one lap, maybe two, if we choose to go into a second set of soft tyres. I really only want to use 2 sets in the first part, but of course I do want to save a set for maybe Q2, Q3. It depends how far we develop our car. Got through the first couple of chicanes pretty well, and honestly, the second chicane is probably the hardest chicane on the track. The third chicane isn't quite as bad. You can take a lot of the first part of the third chicane if you get the line right, and if you can also make the car stable. First part of Ravazza wasn't quite good. I came off the brakes a little bit, so I sort of compromised my run, but up to the line it's good enough for P3 with a 1:15.1. That raised my eyebrows, and I'm wondering, did I even up the AI difficulty? No, I didn't. I completely forgot to do so. Not the first time I've done it either. So in the end, it's good enough for P14, and Mick doesn't quite get through. Yeah, he's a couple of tenths away from George Russell. So we're into Q2, but I thought, because we can't up the AI difficulty in between sessions, I thought in order to be perfectly fair, or to make it more realistic, I decided not to do another lap, or not to do a lap in Q2. So we're going to start 16th on the grid. I don't think there's any grid penalties in front of us, so I think 16th is where we're going to start for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Now, we've got some heavy rain at the start of the race, and maybe drying up towards the end, so we might see a switch from wets to inters, or maybe even inters to dries. So we'll just have to see what happens then.
Hello there and welcome back to Imola, home circuit of the Scuderia Ferrari. We expect to see a lot of local supporters in red today. They've all turned out for what we have every expectation of being a sensational event here at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Unlike most Formula One circuits, Imola is driven anti-clockwise and offers our drivers today just over 3 miles of glistening wet asphalt to negotiate. It's made up of a roughly equal split of 9 right-hand turns and 10 left-hand. Watch the drivers on the way into turn 16. Managing their speed there will be crucial, with the rain only adding to the difficulty of that downhill braking section, which then of course leads into the track's longest straight, though no DRS there today of course. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Good job yesterday from Valtteri Bottas. The Finn starts from pole position, edging out Lando Norris, who'll start from P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Ricciardo, Charles Leclerc and Fernando Alonso, Sainz, Gasly, Verstappen and Sergio Perez, Ocon, Tsunoda, Sebastian Vettel and Russell, Stroll, Skip, Mick Schumacher and Antonio Giovinazzi, Ireland, Schwartzman, Latifi and Nikita Mazepin. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
So as expected, heavy rain to start this race, and we are going to be starting on the wet weather tyres. We do have the option to take these wets to the end of the race, because you don't have to do a mandatory stop if it is wet in a race. We're going to take all of the available fuel out. We're going to up the aero up to 9, just so a bit more front grip. Hopefully that helps us in the rain. 5 red lights, and we are underway for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Being very cautious off the line. I don't want to have too much wheel spin, and I think we get away okay. But Mick gets a ripper start, and he's already overtaken us before the braking zone of turn 1. Callum Ilott, what a monster move from that young man. And now we're getting overtaken by Giovinazzi. There's a yellow flag, someone's going very slowly. It might be Ilott just pulling the car up at the moment. On board with a Haas. Now we're getting overtaken by another Haas and a Williams of Robert Schwartzman, I think. But boy, 3 wide moments there. So Giovinazzi is in front of us, and it was Schwartzman and I think maybe Latifi who we were side by side with. And we were sandwiched in between those two. So we've dropped 3 spots, and maybe a 4th if Robert can hold around the outside, but no, we hold position. We do run a little bit wide at the exit of that corner, and we should hopefully hold on to 19th at the end of this first lap. It's a long race. This is actually the first proper wet weather race I've done with the new wheel. I don't know why I keep mentioning the new wheel, because there's a lot of new features that I'm still trying to get used to with the new wheel, including wet weather racing. That is one new feature that I'm trying to get used to. I was also trying to to try and stay with Giovinazzi, but also not try and bowl the car a little bit wide. Even though it does hurt the tyres, it doesn't hurt them too much because, of course, tyre wear on where the tyres actually isn't that bad. We run wide at the exit of Ravazza, which is the last corner. So now we're under pressure from Latifi, but he's too far back to do anything at the moment. This part of the track can also catch you out, even in harsh wet weather conditions. So as long as we can stay as close as we can to the cars in front, we should hopefully stay with them, but I don't know if there's much we can do. That's a McLaren going slowly. I think that might be Norris, and Jeff's about to tell us who it is.
Some information on Norris. They are out of the race.
Oh no, it is Lando Norris. He is out of the race. The championship leader has gone out, and there's puffs of smoke. So that tells me he has definitely lost an engine. Let's have a quick listen. Yeah, so the car's just blown up, and honestly, very early in the race for Lando to be retiring, and he's cluttered the wall as he's gone to park the car where that marshal was, and the safety car is being deployed on lap number 5 of this race. This gives us a chance to save a bit of fuel, but of course we don't want to be saving too much fuel because we'll end up with maybe over a lap of fuel if we save quite a lot. Team Radio.
The circuit's definitely looking better than it was a few minutes ago. If we could just move a bit more of that standing water, we might be able to get onto the intermediates.
Now that's an interesting Team Radio, actually. Even under safety car, Jeff is telling me that the rain actually isn't too far away from easing, so we might very soon see a switch to intermediate tyres. Now I've actually seen this before, where the weather system is actually not quite as perfect or as accurate. So because the weather actually changes pretty quickly, which has me thinking we might even have a switch to dry compound tyres. Away we go for green flag running. Not a great restart. We've actually almost have the gap exactly as it was to Antonio before the safety car came out. So now McLaren have one driver left in this race, which is Daniel Ricciardo. He's going to be the only one to score maybe a podium, maybe somehow a win if he can get past the two Mercs. But in these wet weather conditions, I don't see how that's going to happen. So right now, we're just going to try and stay with Antonio. We've actually gained a lot of time in the slow speed stuff, but a nice little bit of oversteer, which doesn't help. Jeff is about to come over with some more news.
Forecast suggests the rain is going to be lightening up over the next 10 to 15 minutes or so. You should start finding more grip as we clear the standing water.
That is interesting. So, expecting the rain to ease off within like 10-15 minutes or so, and so 4 laps later, no real changes to the track. We only need, what would you say? Only like small puddles to say that's enough for intermediate tyres. And when we get to that stage, we are gonna be alert on when the time is right for inters. But when we do know the time is right is because the times will get faster, and we're going to start getting or getting more personal bests. So that'll be also an indication on when the track is almost ready for intermediate tyres. This is the closest now we've actually been to the Alfa Romeo, and hopefully we can get a good run through the second chicane. And I think we might have done so. He leaves the door open, and that is an invitation for us to go up the inside. We've grazed with our teammates. Thankfully, no major contact, and we survive for the time being. Thank you, Jeff, for that teammate. Radio saying thank you for that move. And now Antonio's going to come back at us into this next left-hander, but we hold on for P17 at the moment. Running a little bit wide at the exit of the first chicane, and Antonio isn't quite far enough. In fact, he's a long way back when I ran wide. Someone who has had a good race is Callum Ilott. He retired in the first race in Bahrain, only because he clattered into Antonio on lap 4. Now he's under pressure from Esteban Ocon, and he's actually holding up this train really well. He's continuing to stay in front of that Alpine, and he's doing a ripper job in a car that is way weaker than than the Alpine, I must say. Now we're behind our teammate, Team Radio again.
It's not a perfect situation, but I don't think we have cause to move on to a different tyre yet.
Well, even after that Team Radio, I don't even think that the puddles have even deteriorated as of yet. A couple of laps later, the puddles, they do look a bit smaller, but I don't reckon the time is right for Inters just yet. And now we are actually really getting up behind our teammate, Mick Schumacher. But now cars are starting to come into the pit lane. I think that's Valtteri Bottas. That's definitely Ricciardo that's coming into the pit lane. What are they going on to? A set of Inters. That's a Ferrari of Carlos Sainz that's coming into the pits. He's also going on to an Inters. Gasly, I would expect he's doing the same thing. He has, and a Red Bull of Max Verstappen. So they've all gone on to Inters. That's Lewis Hamilton. I actually missed his stop. I'm assuming he went on to Inters. But that's Leclerc. Having a look at Valtteri Bottas into turn number 1. He's going to be on the outside, but he'll have the inside for the second part if he can hold on. And I think they're still side by side. Man, it's hard to tell with the water on the screen. But no, Leclerc gets back into second place with Ricciardo third and Lewis Hamilton in fourth. I think that's the effective lead because I think cars in front might still yet to make a stop at that point. So we're actually gonna come into the pit lane now. As I was looking at the mini map, and I was actually made the call to come into the pit lane. Hopefully Mick doesn't come in. He does. And I decided to stay out because I didn't want to double stack. And now, actually pit window is actually open now. So I actually wanted to come in a lap earlier because I wanted to make the switch to Inters, because when you come in too late, that's when the tyres can overheat. And if you look at the tyre pressures, especially on the left side, you'll see how quickly they come up. So the left rear was on 74 and it's jumped to 79. We jumped to the other side of the track just so we can keep the tyres cool, but that obviously isn't a thing in F1 2021. You can't even somehow make the tyres cooler. Attacking the pit lane entry, we're going to come into the pit lane for a set of intermediate tyres, one lap after our teammate, and apparently they are miles in front of us right now. Is that down to us doing another lap, or could the result have been the same if we double stacked? Who knows? I reckon it would have been nearly the same regardless. What we done if we stayed out another lap, or whether we stacked behind our teammate. Well, happy hour at the moment. Gasly does a 23.4 for the fastest lap of the race, and so that confirms that the track is getting faster. But the question is there going to be a switch to dry tyres with 8 laps to go? I highly doubt that is going to be the case. We did a 24.6 and now we've jumped to a 24.4. That might be the fastest we can go at the moment. So our teammate, who is in P15, I believe, is actually holding up the Alphas really well. He's been able to stay in front, and he's actually really impressing me on what he's doing. He's keeping the Alphas behind. As long as he can keep them behind through the mid sector, where all the dirty air is pretty much a thing, as we run wide at the exit of the second chicane. I think there's like turn 6, turn 7 or whatever, and we are able to we're actually able to slowly bring down the gap to both Alphas. The one thing that they really can't afford to do is to start squabbling, because that allows Mick off the hook. And even in this aerial shot, you can't even see the Alphas there, or well, you can now, but that tells you that Mick does have a gap. He's been managing a gap, and that's what I'm really impressed with. He's managing a gap to the Alphas, so he has no threat from behind going to the first chicane. But now the Alphas are starting to squabble. That allows Mick off the hook, and that should almost confirm P15 for Mick and maybe P16 for us. Now the aim is to potentially get 15th and 16th in this race. That would be a good result for us. However, we did start 16th, so hopefully we can get back into 16th, given that we didn't have the greatest of starts. Antonio, a little sideways out of the second part of Ravazza. Now we get a good run on him as we run out of ERS up to the line. we somehow improve to do a 24-3, but now we're going to have a look at Antonio. Does he go defensive? He goes defensive, but we're going to go to the inside anyway for turn 1. We're going to give him no space at turn 2, and that is P17 for us now. I was a little hesitant on what I wanted to do. I wanted to go inside, but Antonio shut the door. I probably could have chosen to go the outside so I could get a more flowing run and maybe stay within a second or so of George, but that hasn't worked out. So 17th might be the best we can do in this race. One man who has been holding up a train of 4 cars really well, Valtteri Bottas, has held up Leclerc, Ricciardo and Hamilton, his teammate, very well as he starts his last lap, and as we start our last lap, we defend a little from Antonio, but he's too far back to do anything about it. And I know how ridiculous the AI are on the last lap with their super ERS that I've noticed in this F1 Games life cycle, but out of the last corner for Valtteri Bottas, he will take the championship lead with Lando Norris retiring on lap 5. Bottas takes the lead of the championship and wins the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Where are we? We're going through the tricky complex of corners in the mid-sector, and we do have a gap of a 3/4 of a second to Antonio Giovinazzi, and that gap should be enough for us to secure P17, a race where honestly not a lot could have been changed. I reckon is it setup wise, or was it the case of not having wet weather running in practice? I don't know. Many different things can come into this, but for us, it's 17th place, and honestly, not a lot that could have been done.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Ferme.
So Mercedes have won it, and what a great race it was. So Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
Without a doubt, the safety car changed everything today. The key to their success was keeping calm and reacting to the situation quickly. We've seen teams in the past throw away wins because they were too hesitant, but here they were decisive, and that's allowed them to take the advantage.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners today.
How quickly things can change in a championship race. Norris retiring on lap 5, Bottas taking the win and the championship lead after this race in Imola. So that is a massive swing in the championship. Bottas scoring 25 points and with Lando scoring none. So that means Bottas takes the lead in the championship by about 8 points or whatever the gap was going into this weekend. We're about to see that right now. Yeah, 8 points. So 59 plays 51 after 3 races of racing. Even though after 3 races, only 50 points. Yeah, you look at that, you think, oh, well, they've had shocking results. That's not the case. If you actually look back and you'll actually understand what actually happened in those races, and then everything makes more sense. But for us, not a lot that could have been changed. In honesty, I feel like, well, is it setup wise, or whether is it not having wet weather racing experience? There's a lot of things that can come into play with this sort of stuff, especially with inexperienced wet weather racing with a new wheel that can come into play. But honestly, I think it's just honestly, we had matching pace of the alphas and our teammates. So honestly, and even in a wet weather race with no DRS, that honestly just make things a little bit harder, in all honesty, if you actually think about it. With no DRS and just relying on slipstream and battery, and with the middle sector being an out of bounds area where you literally can't overtake. Literally the only overtaking spot on the track is into turn one, or maybe even into, I'm trying to think of the corner, so maybe I think this corner is turn 6, so maybe this area turn 6 where we made a move on Antonio Giovinazzi could be an overtaking spot if you get a run out of turn 5 and on the run to turn 6. But throughout yeah, turn 1 is basically the only overtaking spot I can really think of. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new already. I know it's been a long break between episodes, but with F1 22 just around the corner, if you do want to see the rest of this season, because I don't think I can get this season done before F1 22 comes out. If you want to see the rest of this season and F1 22 at the same time, let me know in the comments. But until the next one, guys, hit that like button, all that good stuff, and I'll see you next time.